and I swear we tell this story every week, but William Hung was the first guest that we got that really helped us get other guests onto the podcast. So we had him, and then we just started interviewing members from bands, actors, actresses, chefs. Last week we interviewed Jason from Just Surrender, who I used to love. They were a big kind of part of my high school years.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Fucking Jesus.
You did it.
That was insane, guys. Like, of course that's going to happen like that.
It usually does, right?
Yeah. That's
I
a pretty
feel
rare
like
one. Yeah.
Or you get sick. Like last week, we went to like 2 minutes before we recorded. I had to pass a kidney stone. So we're recording the whole episode, and I'm sitting there, and I was talking to Eric, and I was like, I need to go put on like a robe. I am freezing. I think I'm getting the flu.
You came out like Hugh Hefner, and I'm like, what is this? A bathrobe? And you look
what
like
is wrong
disheveled
with you?
a little bit.
And I was like, I think I have the flu. Well, sure as shit, it turns out it was actually a kidney stone. And so I did that whole interview wearing this bathrobe, and I'm surprised no one commented on that yet. But I had this Hugh Hefner Jacksonville Jaguars bathrobe on.
Greg, it could be a
Mortals.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It could be. I'm not confident enough to just always rock a bathrobe.
You don't want to make that your thing.
That's not my thing.
I had a silk bathrobe that someone gave me years ago, made for me, and then later people were like, it's too short, buddy. And I was like, they were like, you might be ready for this, but we aren't. So. I feel like we should get started soon. If that works for you guys, since you're about to start.
Jacob's got a 4, maybe.
Well, I have people coming to the house. No, we'd already almost started earlier. So
I'm sorry.
I sound abrupt.
I already hit record, so we are going. We are in it right now.
Got news for you, bro. This is happening.
We are already going.
No, that's good.
But yeah, thank you both for joining us. And I do have to start with my daughter's going to be really disappointed. She thinks that both of you are robots for some reason.
Fair.
So she was like, so are they like people like you and Eric? Or I was like, yeah, they're just like us, but
AI will take over our jobs.
At some point, none of us will be doing this.
Yeah.
But we when she was born, she was a pandemic baby, and for probably like a year and a half, Box of Crayons and Robot Dance, like those two songs were just on repeat all the time. And you know what? I enjoy those songs, but if I don't hear them for a little while, that's also okay.
Yeah, right.
They're not made for you, Greg, right?
I mean, they are bangers, though. They are.
They kind of are. We have all kinds of other material, though. You should turn her on to that, and then yeah,
just kind of we were in St. Louis and on vacation, and Nick Jr. Faces music. Was it Faces music
party?
Yes,
Faces music party. Yeah,
and sure as shit, also on that. So. You guys do work with, I was looking through like the pop-up studio, like your website. So it looks like you have a giant client list of individuals that you work with.
Yeah, Jacob and I love this, like making things, and particularly for this age group, because it is, I was just talking to somebody about this. It's like an actual meaningful thing to do with a career in the arts, like where you can like impact the world, perhaps. I mean, not that all art isn't meaningful. It totally is. It just, for whatever reason, this resonates with me. I'll speak for me. I won't use the us, Jake. But then, yeah. So like the way to make a living is to be pretty diverse. And we've made a living being pretty diverse. And so like we make things for all kinds of shows and things and institutions and whatever people want to make.
What's your favorite, if you had to hone in, what's your favorite project that you've worked on?
Oh. Well, our own stuff is definitely always my favorite stuff.
Sure.
It's true. Yeah. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we're pretty lucky. And this is another thing, like people in children's media tend to be pretty awesome and of a type. So you're kind of always playing in the sandbox with other kids like you. That's how I see it. So it's like there's a vibe kind of wherever you go, and you can kind of get with whoever on whatever wavelength they're on. It's rare when you get a kid's property that you're like, I don't like these people. It just like doesn't happen very much.
It's funny. I remember one year when we were nominated for a Grammy, I ended up at a producer's party. I don't know, a party with a bunch of producers that a friend of mine knew. It wasn't something Jason was at. And it's where I first saw Rick and Morty, the cartoon, who was playing in the background. That was my good takeaway.
Yeah.
But then when they started talking about the business, and to be honest, they were a bunch of producers who I don't really know them, and I'm sure they make amazing stuff. In fact, I only would be excited to hear what they make. And we were nominated for a Grammy that year, so we were doing pretty well, I thought. And then there was just this funny moment when people kind of talked about what they did, and I was like, yeah, we do kids music and we're nominated for a Grammy. It's mind blowing. It's so cool, and they just were like, well, how many streams do you have on this? And they were like, well, they were just very pushy, and they had their own metrics, and their metrics were totally legit metrics.
Sure.
But I just was like, oh,
alien to us though. You're like,
people,
I don't think like that.
I was like, I'm in a different dialogue than this. And they thought so, and I thought so. And
Yeah.
Is it like a weird, I mean, you go on YouTube and there's just a lot of children's like content. Like, so I know with podcasting, it's sometimes really difficult to like, how are you going to break through and kind of like be, so I mean, Danny Go is super popular now. So like all of these other, so
Never
like,
heard
do you,
amazing, right? Yeah, sorry, finish what you're saying.
No.
Yeah.
We went to a Danny Go concert back in June or whatever, and it was awesome, dude. Like, and it's so good. And so, like, is it a very opening and just like open and welcoming, like group of individuals, or do you ever find like people that are like, "Well, I'm doing it better, bro," or is it just like a very
That's sort of a faux pas in our community to be like that, because the whole idea of working with kids is like, no, we're all included here. Like there's space for everybody. But I will say that the kids market in America is so local. It's just so local. There isn't a national platform for children's media. I mean,
that's independent, especially if you're not coming from a giant corporation per se. It's hard to like be national.
Yeah, it's like there's very few, like Nickelodeon is national, but like the further we devolve into like, niche media play, America, like it's very local. Like you'll maybe miss Debbie in your town with her ukulele. She's a star. She cannot walk down the street without being like accosted, and she's busy and she pays her rent and she lives a full life. And that's how like the kids market is. It's also like just a smaller pond in general. Like there's a handful of, like there's Disney and Paramount, Viacom, Nick, and there's just a handful of PBS.
Sesame.
We'll see how that goes now with the
But YouTube's an interesting place too. I think that when you mention YouTube and you're talking about what sounds like an indie performer who maybe has gotten very big on YouTube, I don't mean to
Google him.
Or like a as Jason would call more originally a local person, and YouTube expands them. We've also seen all of the groups we work for, like Nickelodeon, like bigger groups. Now they're all coming to YouTube, because YouTube turns out to be one of the big discovery zones for kids media. So
exactly. Here we go. Danny Go, almost 3 million followers. Never heard of him. And I'm in his space. What the heck is that
I thought
about?
you were being ironic that you.
No,
you've never.
I have never heard of Danny Go. This is news to me. I'm gonna get off of this and check him out and reach out. The cool thing is I could probably reach out to Danny Go. Maybe he knows the pop-ups, maybe he doesn't. And then we'll talk. Who knows?
And that's cool. I reached out to Danny Go's
Go,
team.
if you're listening, hit me up.
Yeah. Come on.
The beginnings of a relationship.
I've always wanted to say that on a podcast. This is an amazing opportunity. Yeah.
Greg, you're going to clip that?
Yeah.
I'm going to absolutely clip that and tag them. So Danny Go and their team. So I went to their concert and I was taking videos and I was posting them and I was tagging them and I was like, Eric, we're going to get them, bro. And then he commented on, his team commented on one of our posts, but then they never responded to my email for wanting to come on, which I get. I understand, especially with like
busy. He's just busy making tons of videos. I haven't checked him out at all, but it seems like he's like a YouTube guy, and that's so much production. There's so much going on.
I think he lives in North Carolina, and they just record in their garage, and I think it's like all of his closest buddies, like, this person plays drums, this person does the video work, and then they all just put out these videos, and it's
videos. His homepage is amazing. That moon with the arms, that's kind of incredible.
It's just fun.
It's fun.
But we're still pretty heavy on the pop-ups and Danny Go here.
Oh, sweet. I love it.
But I think that it is fascinating because it's also it sounds different too. So it's not just like cookie cutter music. So I like that everyone can kind of do their own thing and and it just works. Like personally from
Bearhead, and it's just a man with a bear head. That's pretty funny.
Not to be confused.
There's only 3 of them. One has got a bear head and he's just got a bear on
So
his
it's
head.
not Dancing Bear though, and I said that, and they were like, "Yo, no, it is not that."
Yeah, it's Bearhead, man.
It is
that
Bearhead.
Poor guy.
Bearhead.
Yeah, poor Bearhead must have a lot of pimples. Just
Bearhead,
like playing
it's like Bearhead, Pap, and Mindy Mango is his wife in real life.
Gerald.
And dude, so Gerald is this like super sick drummer that like goes and tours when he's not with them, and it's just like I don't know.
We're all making
Greg,
a living in the new economy.
Greg, I think this is your jam. You're very excited.
Clearly.
No one else.
The guy with the bear on your head.
Oh my god! Yeah.
So
you're the super sick drummer.
There's this. I don't know if you've ever seen Pop Star with Andy Samberg. And, Justin Timberlake. He wears that fish suit, and at the end they're like, "Who was that fish playing guitar?" And he's like, "It was me. I'm actually Bearhead." So you heard it first.
Stop the presses.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no, I give it a listen.
I'm definitely gonna check it out. It looks awesome. Yeah,
I'll tell you though, like podcasting is weird though because I don't know, maybe Eric doesn't feel this way, but like trying to find your identity was difficult for us for a little while. I mean, we tried one thing and then we were like, all right, let's record audio only, and then at the end of the episode, let's eat snacks. But people can't see us eating them. They'll just hear us sucking on candies.
And we described it. We were like, this one is sour.
Do you still do that?
No, we don't do that.
Right, yeah.
If you go back and listen to our first 3 episodes, we do.
God,
and it's real bad.
Stop telling people to do that. I wish people would.
just lip smacking.
That's funny. I was actually
just has that thing in their chest, and you're like, "Could you just swallow? Because I can just hear that you need to clear your throat.
You've got a little gurgle here."
Yeah,
and for whatever reason, we decided to do like each week we would say, all right, let's do like a different like ethnic type of snack. So we would have to find like, oh, this is an Asian grocer. Let's get snacks here that we don't know what they are, and then I don't know why that was our thing.
So where did you settle? What's your thing?
Honestly, okay.
World Series side.
Still figuring it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Doing it live.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel
so. You know what we did start doing? We started doing the unscripted and then kind of more of the hangout feel, and I think it really started. We did like a joint show with Jarrett from Bowling for Soup, his podcast, and so and it was just the 4 of us. It was Eric, Jarrett, Gary, and I, and we just hung out and just talked about like life and things that interest us, and then we realized that it just was more comfortable, and it just the content was better, and it wasn't so forced. I mean, I can go into ChatGPT and say, give me 10 interview questions, which we used to do. And
We definitely did.
it was just kind of, well, and then we would plan the whole episode around that. So we would say, okay, this question, according to ChatGPT, should take 3 to 4 minutes. And then someone would say, yes. And then it's like, well, dude, I don't know what to do now for 3 to 4 minutes because you were supposed to
One of these. Come on.
But we do not eat on camera. However, Eric was eating before
I had a little
you
bean
jumped
burrito.
in.
I was so hungry and I wanted to put a little hot sauce, and I said I was eating, and I jumped on and I was like, is it rude to eat it during like an interview or so? And he was like, yes. And what were you saying? That
So there was an the podcast with Jason Bateman.
Smartless.
Yes. I guess Daniel Craig came on and he was like in between like press shoots. So he had to sit down and eat during. And apparently people were like, this is the worst shit. I am not listening to this show anymore because he sat there and ate in our ears. Do you think that that's actually like, would that turn you off of something if someone was eating into the microphone?
I know that that's a thing that people have, and there's a word for it, some fancy word, $2 word for like where you don't like the sound of people eating. And I think a lot of people don't like the sound of people eating. One of my best friends, Gravy. Do you know Gravy, Jake?
Oh, yeah.
So shout
I
out
love
Gravy. DJ Gravy. He's
Yo,
amazing.
DJ Gravy. Shout out.
He would, like one of my best buddies growing up, man, he could not even sit at the same table as me while I was eating because he's like, dude, you're the loudest eater. Like, dude, it's disgusting. Dude, that's disgusting, man. Like, I can't even sit next to you, man. And he would like berate me just for merely eating. So yeah, I know that people get sensitive about it. So it doesn't surprise me that people don't want to hear that.
It's a very intimate space, you know? Like people feel close to people on audio because they're right in your ears, and then sometimes they're eating inside your ear canal. I think it can be a little wet, a little moist.
Yeah. And so, yeah, apparently he was eating something that was quite like, I don't know if he was
Nasty.
eating like pasta or something that had like slurping. That's a weird also like choice to eat. If I'm on the go, you got to eat something that's like probably like a burrito, maybe a hot dog. I don't know. I feel like spaghetti is kind
What's
of
that,
rough.
a walking taco? Right?
Where you put the meat into the bag of
Bag of
chips.
chips. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's
Sure.
a
And
thing.
you can just take it and just eat out of it, right?
That's a thing, yeah.
So my daughter came home from.
I think that Daniel Craig gets a pass, right? Like,
I mean,
I
he's
guess not,
James
maybe-
Bond. Well, he was James Bond. He's not James Bond anymore.
well, he's James
So-
Bond until they get a new James Bond.
That's
He's
true.
what's his name? The Knives Out detective.
Oh,
love
to my
that.
family. He's so good as that.
Those
Yeah.
movies were so good.
Are they doing another one?
Yeah, a third.
Yeah,
A third is
Netflix.
coming out.
I think Netflix bought the rights to. I was actually I bought tickets to Macbeth, and I think Daniel Craig. It was like he had this 2-week stay on Broadway.
Was he
and
Mac or
then-
Beth?
What's that?
Nothing. Stupid.
And then in true Greg fashion, I ended up selling them and not going.
You love not going to a thing.
I know. But
But then you made a choice, you know. If you could go and you choose not to go, that's a power move.
Well, because then I'd probably have to get train tickets. Then I have to go from Wilmington, Delaware, and catch a train.
Yeah, that's a
It's
schlep.
a lot, you know.
Train.
So how did you two meet? Have you guys been friends for forever? Or
I've got a
is
good
this,
story. This is our origin story. Both Jacob and I were writing content for infant toddler music programs in Manhattan. And he, through a friend, well, you could say this part if you want. I don't want to.
You do yours and I'll do mine.
Okay, basically, he hired me. He hired me and 3 other people to be in a band, an on-stage band, for his one-man Passover puppet musical show. And he had like a case full of puppets, and he was just like one guy like talking to himself, like acting like a lunatic. And we were 4 people standing there playing music. And I thought, wow, he's that guy. He's my kind of crazy. And I asked if he would want to hang out and make some music. And we like had a spring break, and it was like we got together every night that spring break and wrote a whole album, the first album called Outside Voices, and it had some legs, and that was that. It was constricting to write for others, and then we thought, what if we didn't have to constrict ourselves? What if we could be as zany as we wanted and like real? And it was I remember the experience as being cathartically freeing and wonderful. And that's pretty much what we still do when we get together, which we're working on our first album now in like 5 years. And every time we get together, it is the best thing ever. It's just the best. Because you're goofy in the way that is so real to who you are at the core of you, and that's that.
Yeah, I always feel like when we're in the studio, it's like you can open a door when we're in the studio together, like, and it's like infinite space. It's like opening a door and you're in outer space. It's like it's so cosmically open, which probably means you maybe make some of this or that doesn't make it on a record, but there is no space quite like the creative space that we create together. And honestly, we've both collaborated with other people, and I won't speak for Jason, but we have some sauce together that is more than the sum of its parts.
Yes.
And that's it's special. You had to recognize it. And that's kind of one of the things that has kept us going. Because, like, when we get in that room, we'll get to like open up that crazy can and don't know what's going to fly out.
But it's also just the most fun thing you could possibly do with your one existence on this planet. It is like the highest level of joy for me. Yeah. That kind of wild creative exploration. It's so fun.
Yeah, you're making things for kids that are like, they're in their formative years. Like they're going to things. My kids, they're 8 and 9 now, almost 9 and 10.
Yeah.
But like when they find a thing, it's just like I want to hear this thing 100 times.
I got a thought. Why is Weird Al more and more and more popular? Because we all grew up with him, and we age, and now we've trained others in the tradition of Weird Al, and his legend only grows. He is more and more and more famous and successful the older he gets, which is the opposite of usually how it goes. He gets hipper as he gets older, so that's crazy.
The culture conforms to him.
Yeah. But yeah, like you say, when a kid finds something and it resonates with a kid, it's like the deepest.
Yeah, I don't want to say, well, I'll say it, they're not here, but like Baby Shark was the best example when my kids were young. Oh my gosh, it's so catchy, and it just gets in your brain. Every little crevice of your brain had Baby Shark in it. I hesitated to say it, and now they're probably going to know that I said it. It's lingering now in the house.
You put that out there.
I welcomed it back into my life.
Shoot. You can't unring that bell.
Sorry.
Somewhere an algorithm is like,
here's that pink fong just coming at you.
I'm trying to think of like what is that? Yeah, maybe I was like, is it the Thriller of kids music? Is it the Bee Gees of kids music? What is that?
Right.
Like the biggest thing of all time.
Right. Yes, it might be.
Yeah.
We never really there wasn't a whole lot of Miss Rachel going on. And Miss Rachel, like, she's doing her thing too,
She's
I was at Walmart and she had like a line of dog toys.
Oh, wow.
And they were just like little like Miss Rachel
Go Miss
dog
Rachel.
chews. And
Yeah,
I was like,
man.
I would look if somebody offered me a deal at Walmart to get a dog chew. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That is the podcast dog toys. Sure.
Yeah, right.
we're not in the 90s anymore. I mean, remember when the artists we grew up listening to would like never do an ad, never sell out, never, if a band like their song made it into a car commercial, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And now there's not a single, every band has also just sold their catalog. Everyone's just like, where is our
The
business
industry
model? So you just go where it is now. It's fun.
That's interesting. Like, I think it was Good Charlotte when they dropped their first like big album, and I remember they in Hot Topic had like a thermos and a pencil set. And my sister she's like, how could they do this? They're a bunch of sellouts. But yeah, it was anti-man, but now it's, and I think it was maybe Derek from Sum 41 or someone was talking about like, all right, well, I can either get paid $350 million now or maybe it was like D. Snyder actually. And he was on Steve-O's podcast and he was saying like, hey, I could make 200 million and get this after taxes, or over this amount of years, I could maybe get this amount of money. That's why we're all doing it. And you can't blame a guy.
We all recognize it and we go, okay, you could absolutely do that. Because nobody wouldn't take that option if they had it themselves.
Everyone has taken that option that can, for the most part. And I'm here for it. But I'm glad we kind of live in an age where the sellout thing is okay now.
Right. Well, it's got pluses and minuses, right?
Sure.
They had the luxury of being able to make a living without quote unquote selling out. I mean, it's so funny. If you look at a movie like, what is it? Like Singles or, like the whole Gen X vibe is like, it's anti-selling out. Kurt Cobain couldn't live with himself because he got so popular. And he was like, I can't take it. I mean...
And at that point, maybe you had something to sell as a band because there was a CD that could sell.
Right.
I mean, I remember buying the CDs when they first came out in the double-sized thing so they fit in the album. Remember at like Tower Records and stuff, CDs had to be tall enough to go in an album
in that
shelf.
plastic
there weren't
thing.
CD shelves.
Yeah.
And they were like $16 for a CD or like $17,
It was a gamble because you would say, oh, I love this song. But there's 12 other songs that I haven't heard, so let's really roll the dice here, and it's either good or sometimes you'd buy. I think I bought Chumbawamba's album because Tub Thumping, that was my shit, and then it was like, oh god, the rest of this album.
Is that the I get knocked down and get up again? Is that's okay?
Man.
Yeah,
Yup.
okay, that's great.
That one was dope.
I will say, I feel like
I drink a whiskey drink. I drink a Is that? Yeah. Okay.
I drink a whiskey drink. Belle Biv DeVoe, the single. You could buy a single at one point, and then eventually CD singles too. But
sure.
Yeah.
I see a lot of bands now. They'll do like the joint vinyls for like record store day. Well, they'll have like one or two songs, but now we can just go on Apple Music and I can listen to. I think I consume more music now than I did when I had to buy it because I couldn't afford to buy albums. So I'll pay the $39.95 a month or whatever for Apple Music and just listen to bands that I might not have listened to before.
The music industry knew this was coming when I was in music school, and we had a professor who would like swear. He's like, when you're older, you'll see it's going to be like a utility bill that you pay and a tap that you open, and it's just going to come out. You want music, any kind of music. It's just you just ask for it, and then there it is in your house, streaming right to your living. He didn't use streaming, of course, because there was no streaming, but like he called it in 1995.
I think
there's a new transition happening. I've noticed. I do have Spotify as my music library, and I buy from artist band camps or go to concerts when I can. But the Spotify has started doing like it's not quite AI slop, but on the they would send out a release radar of new singles, and in the last 6 months or so, and I would often listen to it, and it would put on like a great 70s thing I'd never heard, a great 80s thing, a new thing, and it was pretty good at giving me stuff I wanted to hear. And then I started to be like, what is that? And I started to dig in, and I had this uncanny feeling that they weren't real songs. And there's been a whole expose recently that Spotify pays less in royalties for a set of labels that make fake, there is AI slot versions, and there's also just they bring together real musicians to cut instrumental things in genres. And now when I turn on the release radar, half the bands making kind of legit 70s or 80s funk turn out to be not real at all. And so now I had to turn it off because I would not know if I was listening to something, discovering something, or being fed a bill of AI slot.
So we live in a world now where you can't even trust your music. You don't even know if it's real or not.
That's
wild. Wow.
There was a recent couple articles about it.
Blew my mind, man.
It's legit because they pay less royalties to these labels making this stuff, and then they slip it in, and then they're playlist makers with using more and more of them because they pay less royalties.
Oh my god,
and you're just like
diabolical.
Well, and it's crazy too because I feel like whenever you see anyone post about like, hey, here's what I think it was like Snoop Dogg, and he's like, for like 7 billion streams, I made like peanuts. So it's not even like they're paying artists who are getting all these downloads a ton of money, you know? So now they're making.
Think about the aggregate of like the, trillions of whatever tracks that are played, and even if it is 0.01 cent per stream, which I think it is, it's like a 90th of a penny. I don't know if I got that right.
Wow.
Per stream, or maybe it's 190th of a penny. It's something abysmally small per stream, to where you can get like 10 million streams and it's like not even $1. It's like, or not even $10 or something.
Wow.
But if you think about the aggregate of what they're laying out, it's still a lot. Every month, I would imagine they have to shell out. So I could see how when it gets to be that corporate-y, ginormous thing, they would want to do that normal corporate thing, which is profits over people and cut corners. And I don't know. I've always had a problem with it. I think the whole thing but it's reality. So what are you going to do?
A lot of their big payouts, I think, go straight to labels, and then they do split out for artists. So I will say, I want to give a shout out, though, not that we're supposed to do that, but Sirius XM, or if anybody has satellite radio and they have kids and they haven't checked out Kids Place Live, it is truly a bastion. There's some other great Kids Corner out of Philly, but for national kids radio, Kids Place Live has been a really great
channel 134. Yeah,
channel. And I just want to say the DJs there, and they do a lot of indie artists, and it's really important for our ecosystem of kids music to discover new stuff.
I would say it's actually like, there would be probably no, I don't know, maybe that's too intense, but there is no overstating the importance of that channel to independent children's music in America. It's given a career to a lot of
That's
people.
Great. That and YouTube, I'm sure, right? Like we talked about earlier. Just being able to spread that, and I'll say it again. It's just the over and over and over and over again. But I mean, YouTube genuinely, they'll watch some Netflix TV shows, just like TV shows, just like we would watch like when we were kids, just turn on Nickelodeon or Disney or whatever. But my kids, it's almost only YouTube.
And are they watching other children play video games? Because that's what my children are doing.
So my son's a big Fortnite fan now. He plays a lot of Fortnite, and if he's not playing it, he's watching people play it.
Yeah.
And then there's the other like, we're gonna prank these people, like kind of those kinds of shows of things. Like it's just a bunch of kids, and by kids I mean like these guys are probably 19 years. They might be 19 years old.
Yeah,
they're kids,
and I couldn't, because my memory is just crap.
Yeah,
but my wife will walk in and she'll go, "Oh, who are these twins?" but they're like, they're like hunky looking 19-year-old boys probably, and I go, all right, I think we need to turn this off. But it's just YouTube, and I don't do a great job of blocking things from their YouTube. Like YouTube Kids, my kids quickly found out that they wanted to watch things that like we were watching, so we missed YouTube Kids almost entirely. And I'm like, what are you guys watching now?
It's not too late. They're 8 and 9. You could put them on YouTube Kids. It's kind of a walled garden. When I figured out that my kids had way too much access and put them on YouTube Kids. Not my older daughter. She's out in the Wild West, and
kids out of the bag there.
I won't let her watch TikTok, so she just watches TikTok on YouTube.
YouTube Reels, right? Isn't it YouTube
like
Reels?
Shorts.
It's basically shorts. Yes.
Anyway, so that's her thing, and the other one just watches Minecraft videos. That's it. And they're like 21-year-old men, young men playing Minecraft. And she's learning things, but she can watch it for hours. And I'm like, what are you watching? She's like, well, I'm learning about a mod. I'm like, give me the iPad. You've had enough. It's crazy. Yeah.
We're kind of in that same boat where like my son is 2, so he just wants to watch Blippi. Like that's all we're watching is just Blippi, which that's cool, whatever. He'll go into his little playroom, turn on. But my daughter Isla, like she'll sit in front of, she calls it the Hey Alexa. It's one of those Alexa shows.
Yeah.
And she watches these shorts and like I'll sit there and just like be editing at the counter and she's sitting there. But then like some of the stuff that comes through, it's like, if you don't like this video, then your parents are going to burn in hell.
Oh!
Like I'll like look over, or it's like, if you don't like this, then you hate your mom. And it's like, yo, like you can't watch this, you know? So I had to restrict like the shorts because like the stuff that was coming through, I was like, yo, this is not age appropriate for a 5-year-old at all.
We talked about kids being in their formative years or being very impressionable. That goes both ways. That goes both ways for both good and bad things. Yeah.
But you know, it's funny, the world of entertainment has always had these funny edges. That's obviously, you're totally doing the right thing. But I just remember one of our favorite DJs, Kathy O'Connell, used to listen to this guy, Soupy Sales. He was an old TV personality. And he used to say in his show, all right, kids, if your mom's out of the room, run over to your mom's purse, take out her wallet, take a $20 bill, put it on an envelope, write Soupy Sales Show, and he would give the address, and he'd be like, put it in the mail.
That's where the Krusty the Clown character came from. Like, Soupy being like,
wow.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's always big deal. But I think that actually also speaks to like one of the fun things about kids' music and like what we've gotten to do too is like, we know whatever, maybe there's jokes in there and maybe they're jokes for the grown-ups too, or they're jokes for everybody. Like we acknowledge that there's absurdity here. I think that's something that we have a lot of fun with. I don't know.
I appreciate watching kids shows or movies. And then that's an adult joke. The kids just don't get it. But I'll go back and watch like old Nickelodeon TV shows that I used to watch, and I go and like I'll call my mom and be like, "Mom, why would you let me watch this? Like, did you not hear this?" Rocko's Modern Life is my favorite example of this. Wasn't he I think he was a phone sex operator. Was his job. He would go, oh baby, oh baby, oh baby. And then his neighbor called and he would go, Mrs. Bighead. But when I was a kid, I was like, why was he embarrassed? Oh, he was embarrassed talking to his neighbor or something. Like, I had no idea.
Sure.
Because we're adults and we know, but we make that like what that is.
Man.
But his kid just has no idea. And it's funny. It's a funny TV show. But I'm always floored.
Yeah, it is crazy revisiting that stuff. Like Animal House. My parents let me watch Animal House, like as a child, because they didn't know. And like Naked Gun and Stripes and Police Academy. These are so freaking inappropriate. Like,
I definitely. So South Park came out,
brilliant, life affirming,
so funny.
Right.
I like for me like. South Park came out in 97. I was in first grade. I used to stay up every Saturday until 10 p.m. to watch it because I missed it. I think it came out like it would air on Wednesday and Saturday. I couldn't watch it during the week, but my parents let me watch that. And so I guess I don't really have any room to talk when I hear like my daughter listening to this stuff. It's like, but don't like it's not good, you know.
Are you going to put her on the same track? Just pop her on South
Park. The Rock was my favorite movie with Nick Cage and Sean Connery. Like that's what I grew up watching. But even like watching Rugrats now, it's so relatable to like being an adult. And I think Stu was sitting there making chocolate pudding at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And Dee Dee comes down. She's like, what are you doing? Why are you making chocolate pudding? He's like, I've lost control of my life. And I was like, that shit is hilarious because that is so relatable.
So when you're a kid, when you're a kid watching it, you're saying, oh, I'm Tommy Pickles. Like, I'm Tommy Pickles. My best friend is Chucky Finster. Oh, I'm getting all these names.
You cast yourself.
The girl down the street, that's Angelica. But now we'll watch it and it's like, oh, I'm Stu. I'm the father. Or I could see myself being Grandpa, whatever his name was. Like, I'm very close to that.
Buckle up, Buttercup. This is new to you. In 10 years, it's alarming. You're like, oh, this isn't changing. This is only getting worse. Now I'm identifying with older and older and older people. Yeah.
I saw something, and it was like maturing is like realizing that the Grinch actually just like hated large groups of people, which is fair.
Had agoraphobia.
Yeah,
right.
He's had anxiety, social anxiety.
And,
he was on the spectrum. It's okay.
Right. It's fine.
Yeah, that's funny.
I don't know. I feel like,
just gonna say I'm about to have a kid. I'm about to be a dad. I've never had kids this whole time. The pop-ups have been around since 2011, 2010.
Wow, congrats, man.
I've played kids shows for many years, and finally I'm gonna be a dad, and it's just funny to be like, have seen like generations of kids material being made, and I guess I'll get to see the new stuff now because I'm not sure I don't know how many Pop-Ups albums I'll be able to play my own kid in a row. I think that will be too much.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about that. So like I don't listen to our podcast. Like I edit it and then I'm not going to sit there. Do you listen to your own music? Like, is that like after you've recorded and it's done, is that it?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
But occasionally I'll go back and check it out. I mean, Jacob, like he says, like there's so much we have so much unreleased material, and every time I go back and check it out, I'm like, there's like probably 2 full albums worth of just really album quality things that we were for whatever reason we were like, nah, not this one. But it's good.
You just want to hold on to it, or
I don't know what the heck we're gonna do with it.
Actually, our last album, Giants of Science, was supposed to be, we were going through kind of a business transition, and it was going to be the Pop-Up Swan Song was the decision. We were just going to release all our unreleased tracks. But then when we got in the studio, we just kept writing new stuff, and then there wasn't any room for the old unreleased stuff. So it just kind of, it's the long tail of creativity. But every artist has that, I think. There's always
the vault.
Stuff. The Vault.
Decade by Neil Young. There was all kinds of weird stuff on there that was so cool. And I don't know, like people get there.
We interviewed someone last week and he said that the songs that they dropped in like 2021, 2022 were recorded like 6 years ago, and like they just had all this music and just the right time to release it. And I hear all the time, I think it was like the guitarist of Story of the Year, and he's like, all right, I wrote 100 songs and we're going to pick 10 for this new album. That's like mind blowing to me, but I get it.
Challenging. Yeah. It's challenging, but it's cool. Yeah. And nowadays we find like we're both, the Pop-Ups has become like kind of a bigger entity, and it's not like the band part is like, it's fairly negligible in honesty. I wouldn't say negligible, but it's not the focus. So like now we're busy. We're both very busy. So like finding time to even go make that music, which, is just for us really. And, whoever else cares, which is not nothing, but it's not the main thing. So like that, that's a whole new needle to thread. We were doing this pretty full time for a long time, and now we're sort of,
When you guys do record, is it just the two of you, or do you bring anyone else in, or are you're doing it all?
It's just us. Usually, we'll hire a drummer. My amazing drummer Kenneth Salters, or
shout out Ken Salters.
Shout out Ken Salters. And like we have horns. I don't do any horns, so we hire horns and like anything orchestral. I have my friend Charlie Rosen, who's an amazing Broadway arranger.
Won a bunch of Grammys for the 8-bit big
band, and like Broadway stuff and Tonys. Like Charlie's going to be an EGOT by the time he's 30 for sure. Oh no, maybe he just turned 30. So by the time he's 40.
By the time he's
anyway,
35.
yeah.
Wow. And we work with this great producer, Aldwin, who's kind of a mixer genius. He's a genius.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget him.
Yeah, no, I just want to give a shout out to Andy too.
Andy Baldwin is the best and a mentor to me for sure. Yeah.
So I have a techie question. How do you feel about like kind of moving toward I'm getting away from like the actual like using a guitar amp and going toward the digital kind of interface. How do you feel about like that? Are you like have you noticed a difference in like sound quality or what you're able to get out of that? Are you able to do more when you essentially have a computer at your foot, you know?
So, I mean, look, I do a lot at this point. I do a lot of production work and production music, and that the bottom line of that is expedience. And nowadays, software modeling is just insane. It's just night and day. When the pop-up started, Andy, our mentor, guru, bestie, he's the best dude. He's just wild and incredible, and he's got brilliant ears, and he takes our music and mixes it into like the next levels up, and is generous enough with his knowledge. When we first started, we would do everything in analog. We'd have an analog SSL desk and analog, every little plugin, he had the box, and we would use that, and it sounded amazing. And then over the years, the sound was almost it wasn't, you weren't able to tell the difference between, you couldn't even A/B it. Even if you had the best ears in the world, it was hard to tell. And that's when, you just switch over. But I do hear a difference. But also, let's talk about the way we listen to music, because when you stream something on Spotify, you're getting the most down-resed. I listen to things for reference other artists and other mixes, and like it just in here in these speakers, there's no nuance. You could hear the down-res. So people don't even know. You could use an amp. You could use a software amp. No one will ever know. No one will ever know, because they're not even listening to it like that. If you had a CD in your car and your car had really good speakers, maybe you could tell. And at some point, it just doesn't. You just do what you got to do.
I hear too, like it's popular with touring bands who, I'm overseas and the tubes shattered in my head and now I have no sound, but I got this fractal that I can now bring with me, and it was super expensive, but I can make it sound like whatever. Or I have, this line 6 Helix or whatever. And it sounds almost as good. I think Matty Healy from the 1975 said they are switching over to it, but they can't get like the overdrive to sound and the distortion in that kind of dirty channel to sound as good as it would coming out of,
Live is different.
Yeah.
In the studio, there's a lot more toys to play with and infinite time. Live, I don't know. I would be hard pressed to not use an amp. An amp in a room just sounds delicious. Like,
you put a mic in front of it. It's great, and you can kind of feel it behind you. I think there's something to be said about that. And it's, I don't want to say eventually. I feel like it's going to be where these multi-effects units and these processing units are so cheap now. It's cheaper to buy one of those than it is to buy, I have a 5150 sitting right there that sounds amazing. And I'm part of the problem. I'm selling it now to upgrade to, upgrade my stuff to go that digital route. But also,
jeez, Greg, you sell out.
Right. And it all comes back to that. But I do like the idea of being able to plug headphones into it. I mean, I have 2 kids, so they go to bed at 6, 7 o'clock, so I can't crank an amp up and play. So for me, that's been really nice to practice. And to kind of touch on what you said, I can't afford 20 pedals at $400 a pop, but being able to get it kind of all in one unit has, for me, really kind of sparked an interest in guitar playing again, as cliche that sounds, but it helped me find interest in it again. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. In the studio, I wind up having a very good preamp. I compress things to tape, and then I can process in any amp I want to in the virtual world. And I'm cool with it. And sometimes I don't even process it with an amp. But I will say the different guitars are, you can't, guitar tone has a lot. I mean, everything. Once you get into it, guitar tone, drum sounds are like, I mean, that's why Led Zeppelin exists, is the drum sounds. Like everything has nuance. And then the deeper you get into it is like, that's why certain records sound indelible and certain others don't. Yeah.
Eric, how do you feel about that?
You know me. I don't know shit about music. I mean, I like listening to music, but you guys start talking about this stuff, and I just go glazed over look.
Yeah.
He's like, "Where's that burrito?"
Gosh,
where's that hot sauce?
Give me the food. Hey guys, so also I have some candy that I'm going to eat in your ears.
Make sure you unwrap the plastic.
Just to
really
show off.
We're going to shut the video off.
I mean, honestly, yeah. Turn the cams off, and we're just going to listen. But my kids, they'll come into the room, and they'll go. My daughter, she'll bring her friend over, and they'll go, "This is ASMR. Welcome to my show." And they'll do that, and it's like, that's absolutely another thing. It's the opposite of the people that are grossed out by the food eating. It's they only want to listen to these soft sounds.
Are into like, I'm going to eat this pickle into this microphone, and pickles are the crunchiest of the things, you know.
If we bring it back to food, hey, I'm in now.
Yeah, let's go.
Your eyes just became really.
I'm awake again.
I'm awake.
So for people listening, how can they find your music, your content, all that good stuff?
Thepopups.com.
Yeah.
Just like that.
And we're on Spotify and just the pop-ups. We're kind of everywhere you find stuff. On the gram, at the pop-ups. Yeah, we got it. You know, that's probably why we named ourselves the Pop-Ups, because we got the URL.
Nabbed the name. Yeah.
Unbelievable, too. Yeah. How did we get that?
Yeah. Keep that one forever.
Well, no one's offered to buy it yet.
Yeah, just get into, what's it, domain parking, where you can just sell it for a ton of money. Hey.
You did that for a while, Greg.
I did.
Did you ever make any money off of it?
No.
Okay. And then we started to do a podcast.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for talking with
us.
us.
Yeah,
great to talk to you guys.
Us.
Thanks a lot. What a ball.
Yeah, nice to meet you both.